Good afternoon. I'm here with Freda Tepfer, a fellow Erie resident who actively participates in our local government process and I believe is the best candidate for Erie County Council District 3. Born and raised in New York, Freda completed her undergraduate studies in agricultural science at Cornell. She worked for the U.S. Forest Service in Washington State for over a decade. In 1991, Freda campaigned and successfully gained election to serve as an Arlington, Washington City Council member. As an elected official, she said that this experience taught her a great deal about the process of government from the other side of the table. From 91 to 2001, she also worked with county government as an environmental specialist and in land use, as well as a senior planner for hazardous waste management. Freda then moved on to a new career field where she acquired a master's degree from Western Washington University, and with an additional certification, she began working with people with visual impairments to develop and implement methods to expand their travel independence. That work eventually brought her to Erie in 2011, and she's been an avid citizen participant in local government ever since. She's especially proud to say that she's been a union member in nearly all of her employment since 1980. Welcome, Freda. It's great to share this conversation with you.
Oh, thanks, Danielle, and thanks for going through that history for me. I know it's a little bit challenging for people.
Freda, I'd love for you to tell us about some of your most meaningful accomplishments in your environmental work. I understand that you developed watershed restoration programs and helped businesses improve hazardous waste management. Please tell us more about how you influenced these outcomes.
So when I went to work for the Forest Service, it was like landing on the moon. It was a new world. And very early on, I learned about the needs of fish habitat related to water, soil and water, how they intertwine, and because that was the key to what my work was about. And then I also learned, I met at that very early training someone who was doing watershed restoration work. He was on a forest in Oregon, and I made him my mentor. And then I also was told, go out and monitor finished timber sales. I quickly learned that things didn't always happen the way people planned them to, because sometimes things were never physically possible in the first place. We didn't stop to ask. Or there were all these points along the way of that the information had to be passed along, and that didn't always happen. So that's why things didn't work. And I had to actually learn all those different people's jobs. So between that knowledge and working with my mentor in watershed restoration, I learned about techniques and I learned about funding mechanisms. It took me quite a while, but I got access to a funding source from timber sale funds to restore watersheds. And also I developed a process, and I included the other people in my office, the wildlife biologists, the fisheries biologists, so that they had a way to get into the process as well. And then in county government, again, like being on the moon, I had to learn all about hazardous waste management, what mattered to businesses, what would motivate a business to improve their practices. It would actually save them money. It would protect their workers and their property. And I learned a lot of this from my mentors in King County, the people who I apprenticed myself to. And it took several years, but I put together a workshop for sewer treatment plant operators. We had 50 of them come from almost Canada to almost where Mount St. Helens is. And we met with businesses and regulators, and people had a chance to exchange some really valuable information. Those are projects I had to really get myself in the door. That wasn't always open. And because of that, I say, if you don't want something done, don't ask Freda to do it, because I'm going to get it done.
From what I'm understanding, you tend to identify an obstacle that's worth tackling. Then you use the whole of your creative capacity to identify possible answers toward a resolution. I've heard of that referred to as the Freda nudge. What are some of the tasks you've taken on since you've been here in Erie?
So since I retired, I've become an ambassador without a portfolio. I don't have a job and I'm not elected to anything, but I've established a really good rapport with people in the city about my credibility related to construction practices, access for disability people, people with disabilities. And as a result, the city has developed a handout to give to businesses to tell them how they need to manage their sidewalk access. On Green Garden, after a year and a half, Erie Forge has put in a new piece of sidewalk that they destroyed in their construction. And it's because I kept after the city, and finally those of us who walk up and down Green Garden have a nice piece of sidewalk. Also, you may have read about the city working on regulations of the LED reader boards. Well, that is another thing that I got going. Through former council member Mirsky, the city planning commission worked with to develop new regulations. And Mill Creek has had them for years. It's not anything amazing, it's just something that needed to be addressed. I also worked with a group of people who, after 5 years, we were finally able to get the city to pass the alternative lawn. Ordinance is a piece of the property maintenance code that allows people to grow native plants, to protect biodiversity, and to help manage stormwater better. I just helped push it through the final 2 years because it was just floundering. So the Fred a Nudge was coined by a friend of mine who said, because I let him know about things and I helped keep him informed, there's things that are so compelling to him that he feels like he has to get involved. So he called it the Fred a Nudge.
I keep coming back in my mind to that quote you mentioned earlier, if you don't want something done, then don't ask Freda to do the job. It's that very characteristic that compels me to notice what you do. I like the way you look at problems from a wider perspective. I like the way you persist in bringing new information and new ideas until a solution's within reach. What pushes you to look beyond the status quo toward a potential that's invisible to others?
I think the fact that I've had a variety of experiences, I've lived in various locations, and I constantly informally apprentice myself to new people, it really helps me to widen my perspective. And I don't just stop when people say no. If somebody says, we don't do that, and it's something I think needs to get done, I look to see if it's happening somewhere else and how they're doing it and how they overcame the problems and stuff. So I think it's a great way to look at the world, to possibilities, and to work with the people who I'm trying to get to do something different so that they can feel like it was something they wanted to do, not that somebody made them do it.
I've heard the term deliverables, and I feel it could neatly sum up your dynamic in that it's the goal that you ultimately seek. What are deliverables, and how does producing deliverables illustrate your process?
So deliverable is the thing that you say you're gonna do. And that's important at the county level with a lot of funding programs. So I'm particularly excited about the possibility with working with the Metropolitan Planning Organization and the development of 5-year transportation plans. And a lot of times deliverables are just about traffic. You know, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. But you can also widen that field to address pedestrian problems, to include bicycle paths. And it's a creative opportunity. How you write those deliverables can impact your ability to generate additional funding, to bring in more partners, and even it affects staffing. So I think it's really important to widen your vision on what can be done.
What do you see as the biggest issue that consistently concerns many Erie voters, it comes up. What do you feel that is, and what would you like to do about that issue?
So as I'm canvassing, I've heard people talk about taxes. People say, yeah, well, that's good, but I don't want it to raise my taxes. So again, how we frame a program, how we cooperate with other people, how we build our partnerships is a way to get things done without raising taxes all the time, or to help people understand what is it's a concept called your enlightened self-interest. Mm-hmm. Why is this thing so important to me that I'm willing to help pay for it? So I think how we communicate, how open county government is, how inclusive and involved it is, I think is a way to help people want to support programs, but especially through cooperation and alternative funding.
What wakes you up every day and plants your feet firmly on the ground in pursuing this county seat? What kind of Erie do you envision, and what kind of change do you want to affect in Erie County?
It's Thursday. It's the day I do my Meals on Wheels route, so I'm really aware of all the different challenges that affect people in our community. Because I drive from Lecom to downtown, and I drive all over downtown. Erie is all hands on deck. Erie County, Erie City, we all need to be involved. And the contribution of all the residents is needed for success. As I've said, we need to have an open, inclusive government. We need something that welcomes people's participation, that isn't keeping appointments and involvements to the few and inner core. And we need to always welcome and expand the cooperation with the outlying jurisdictions and all the different organizations and business entities. And again, resilience. How we are a community that responds to the challenges facing us environmentally.
In closing, Freda, I want to thank you. You've given us a great deal to think about. Thank you for sharing your time, your energy, and thank you for your effort in making the Erie community a better place to call home. Are there any closing words you'd like to share with us?
I'm really grateful for this opportunity to be here today. I've had a lot of good conversations with people as I canvass around the district, and I'm welcoming your support, and I hope that you will vote for me on May 21st in the primary. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Mark Tannenbaum, the Artistic Director at the Performing Arts Collective Alliance here in Erie, Pennsylvania, and a business owner and lifelong resident. And it's my pleasure here today to talk to Mary Rennie, who is running for the 3rd District of the County Council candidate. And let's get right to it. So Mary, tell me about yourself.
Thank you for being here with me today, Mark. I'm glad to be here. Well, first of all, again, my name is Mary Rennie, glad to be here. I'm a lifelong resident of Erie County, and I grew up in Southeast Erie and one of 7 children. My husband is also from Erie County. We've been married for nearly 38 years now. We have 5 children. I'm very proud of each and every one of them. I have a granddaughter who's 5 years old and another grandchild on the way. So we've got a nice big family, a happy mix. There's also several generations of our families going back, and most of them tied to the Erie area. And that's another point of pride for me. I carry Erie in my heart with me, and I have that passion for the community in part because of my history.
So tell me, why are you running?
Well, I'm running for county government. Well, let me preface this by saying I never thought I would be running for county government. I really loved my job at the library, and I worked for many years serving in county government by working for the library. The last several years, I was the library director, and I'm very proud of the work that we did during that time. We really expanded the library's footprint within the community, the role of the library, and we initiated and developed the groundbreaking Idea Lab. And all of those things are, again, points of pride with me. But I will say that my favorite thing about working for the library was connecting to so many different people. Libraries, as most people know, serve people more broadly than any other institution. So on a daily basis, I would see people literally of all ages, from babies right on up, all genders, all ethnic backgrounds, every educational level, every income level. It was this melting pot of the community. And the connections that we were able to make were healthy and empowering to people. And those are the types of connections that I see as being fundamentally important to the work that we're doing locally today.
I always thought there was nothing more connected and more American than a library system. A free library system, what could be better?
Absolutely. Lifelong learning, enculturation process, it's all of that, yeah.
It's fantastic. I know that you are an idea factory. You know, I have talked to you many, many times, and the amount of great ideas that you have is just astonishing. So, if you had to narrow it down and tell me what are the top 3 ideas that you have, your top 3 priorities, if you win the race, when you win the race, tell me, what are your top 3 priorities?
Absolutely, and I've put a lot of thought into this. As a longtime county employee, for me, the business of county government is first. And I would be looking to bring a level of integrity, my expertise. I did oversee a budget of $6.5 million. I worked with all of the county departments and worked well with them, I might add. So integrity, expertise, and effectiveness. That would be priority number 1. And the second priority, and it's piggybacked right on the heels of that, is to be mindful of local resources. This is the taxpayers that we're talking about, and I feel very keenly that I have a responsibility to them. Many of them are senior citizens. I'm fully aware of the tax burden on them, and I want to be responsible to them. As a librarian, I will add that I do know how to be frugal, I do know how to be responsible, and to work well with the resources given.
Well, that's fantastic.
So the third then would be to support local initiatives and investments, because after all, that is all about growth, that is all about building upon what is being done locally in Erie. So just as the library is the cultural glue the library is the cultural glue locally, let's say, county government is the glue to leverage local and state resources to obtain new investment, new collaboration and cooperation. It's up to county government to work effectively with other local municipalities, with what's being done in the city, for example, which there are some wonderful things being done. But you need people who are going to be open and optimistic and energetic and active. And that is what I bring to the table for that. We need people with vision and so forth. And this is where I differ, I think, from maybe some other people who have come along. I think we do have to get away from a little bit of the old style of politics, but I also think that we will all benefit when we stop worrying about how to divide up a pie that honestly hasn't even been assembled yet. That's what we're trying to do. We need to roll up our sleeves collectively. We need to hand out the aprons and basically get to work. So to get everybody to that table, to empower all citizens, to invite participation, and maybe not even invite it, but to actively require it, to actively seek it out. Communication is so important with all Erie citizens, to let them know what's going on, that transparency. And finally, the sustainability of the efforts locally, that these aren't just one-shot efforts, various initiatives and investment in Erie, that it is something that is going to be ongoing and that we have a responsibility to the environment around us as well as to maintain what is happening.
So I know I'm hearing from you like one of my major themes, which is inclusive economic growth.
Absolutely, inclusiveness. And inclusiveness means just that, for everyone. It's not trying to take something away from someone. It's trying to bring people together in the spirit of cooperation so that you're building exponentially
Correct.
on the good things. And that is what inclusive economic growth is all about. And I think that it's something that can be achieved locally. I'm a diehard optimist. I
Right.
believe in Erie. I'm passionate about Erie, and I know we can do this.
I know in the past there's been some friction between county government and city government. Are there ideas to reach across the line, so to speak, and include everyone so that all the oars are in the water and that everybody is rowing in the same direction at the same time?
I think you make a very good point, number one. And I don't think that necessarily I'm the only person who can do that. And I think it's being done even as we speak. We have so many people right now who are putting their best foot forward. And I think the trick is to get the right people in the vacant elected positions to help further that process. So I'm very encouraged by what I see going on in the city, for example. There are so many positive things happening. Same thing within the county. It's how are we going to keep them in motion, and how are we going to maybe even take them a little bit further down the road. And I do think that I am a proven person to be carrying that out. Having produced results in the library, I've worked with businesses, organizations, individuals, all of the colleges,
Right.
and we've been able to take that collaboration and turn it into proven goods, programs, and services for all residents of Erie. And I think we can do that with county government as well.
Right, right. You know, I hear we have, you know, when you have your laundry list of positive things about, you know, about the city and about the county and all the wonderful things that are happening. So if you had to narrow it down, tell me one or two of the things that you see in the county and the city that are the best things. I mean, what's our biggest asset? Is it the people that are working for county government and the population? Is it big business or small business coming in and growth? Tell me, what do you think you see as the best thing happening locally now?
Locally, is as far as, well, I think the fact that we have a number of things that are happening in tandem is very important.
Right.
I think growth from within is encouraging, rather than looking to someone or some entity outside of Erie to come in and somehow rescue us. And I don't think I'm the only one who's thinking in that direction. And I do think that focusing on people as our main asset, again,
Right.
coming at it from an educational point of view, and economically, we know that people are the main asset. And so pivoting on that and leveraging that sort of idea that we can empower people and we can do it from within. I think that's central to future growth for Erie as well. And we see that happening.
Yes, almost like the first time.
Yes.
You know, it's so great. So, as a wrap up, what else would you like the people to know about you or about your candidacy before our interview ends?
Well, I think I would like to go back and say, you know, that we do need people who are positive. I am someone who is willing to get in there and roll up my sleeves and get to work, but I also work very well with people and with others. And I've done so in a way that has produced results. So if I was going to say just one thing about myself, I think that would be it. I think it's not about what any one person does, it's about what we will do together. And I love Erie, I love its people. I think we can do fantastic things together.
That's great. So it's Mary Rennie, and she is running for she's a resident of the 3rd District of Erie County, and she is running for election in county government, and I think she's looking for your votes.
I'm here today to have the honor to introduce Fiore Leone, longtime public servant here in Erie County, a member of Erie County Council in the 3rd District, running for re-election this year. Fiore, tell us a little bit, it's an honor to be with you today.
Thank you.
And tell us a little bit about what public service has meant to you in the Erie community.
Well, Carl, you know, for the past 40 years that I've been in public service, 40 plus years, I've enjoyed it quite immensely because I've enjoyed the people that I've dealt with. I enjoy the community. I'm a lifelong member of this community. I've born in Erie, raised in Erie, and live in Erie. And I'm one of the few that can attest to that as far as where I live, where I come from. I've lived in this district all my life. And, you know, further, I'll give you a little bit of my educational background. I'm a graduate of the Kettering University. That's in Flint, Michigan. It was an engineering school, by the way. It was a 2-year program. I'm also received accolades from Penn State. I carry a title from Penn State. It's called CDMS. I'm a certified director of maintenance. And also, I'm a graduate of the University of Pittsburgh. I have a Bachelor of Science degree from the University of Pittsburgh. And as far as my home itself, I've been married to the former Diane Malinowski. She's been my wife now. This year it'll be 52 years that we'll be married.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I have 2 children. One is named Ann. The other one is named Paul. Both of them I'm quite proud of. I also have 2 grandchildren that I'm proud of. One is Lily and the other one is Autumn. Same name as one of your daughters.
Ah, yes.
Yes.
Right.
But, you know, and both, like I say, I'm very proud of. Ann is married to a Marine officer stationed right now in Okinawa with my 2 granddaughters, and hopefully they come home as soon as possible so we can get together a little.
Yeah.
And my son Paul, who's an engineer for Rockwell International. I'm very proud of him. He's achieved quite a bit in his short lifetime. The only other issues that I have as far as my experience is concerned, I'm a retiree from the Erie School District. I was director of equipment, maintenance, and operations for the Erie School District for quite a few years. I've left there, and that's when I eventually ended up running for office as a county councilman in the 3rd County Council District. And like I said, I've enjoyed it because I've tried to do what's best for my constituency, and that's what, to me, is more important than anything else. I'm an honest individual. I don't have to tell somebody I live in one district and vote in another district. That's something that I see from some of the candidates that they have. Anyway, I'll get to that when we start talking a little bit about the election and some of the processes that we have in county government. So,
Well, yeah, it seems that you are a well-known figure in the community and on the west side. You've certainly made that commitment to the Erie area, and we're honored to have you as a member of council with the knowledge that you have and the expertise that you bring. In fact, I was honored to be with you last week. You received a statewide award of excellence from the governor, award of excellence this year, and that was last week. And tell us a little bit about that. Certainly a well-deserved, by the way.
well, Carl, you know, they had a total of 19 awards that they had. 10 of those awards were for projects and initiatives, and the other 10 were from local government leaders. And the award that I received was the Governor's Award for Local Government Excellence. Well, I'm quite proud of that because in the state of Pennsylvania, there are 16,000 elected officials. That, of course, includes school board members, auditors, tax collectors, but there are 16,000. And I'm quite proud of the fact that as a member of County Commissioners Association of Pennsylvania, I've been involved with their, years ago it was called the Legislative Committee, and that's when they first started it, and now it's called the County Governance Committee. I've been on that board since its inception, and I'm quite proud of that too, because they do quite a bit to help all of the counties in the state of Pennsylvania. Some of their progress has been very good as far as the counties themselves are concerned. And like I said, I'm proud to be a member of that. And this is where that award come from. It come from the County Commissioners Association of Pennsylvania. Again, I'm quite proud of the fact that they picked me, and the fact that, like I said, there's 16,000 elected officials. So it's an award that I'm not ashamed to receive it. I'm embarrassed at times because people ask me why I got it, and I got it because somebody finally, in my estimation anyway, maybe not in everybody else's, but somebody finally realized the potential I had. And it isn't, by the way, it is not the very first award that I received. In 2011, I was appointed to the commission for the Local Governors Advisory Committee by Tom Corbett. Obviously, he was a Republican, and what I'm saying to you is that, and to this community, is that it really doesn't make any difference whether it's a Republican or a Democrat. If the issues are good, I'm the type that'll go with those issues, whether or not it's a Republican or it doesn't make any difference. We're all people, and I believe seriously that we should consider the issue and go from there, not to say, well, he's a Republican and I don't want to do what he wants. I don't believe in that. I never have, and I don't think you do either, Carl. I've seen what you've done, and I think you've done an excellent job on council, and I think you'll continue to do an excellent job.
Well, thank you. And with saying that, it truly is the way county government works. It's not about the party, it's about the issues. And there's lots of issues going on with county government. You certainly have been involved in many issues over the years, and what we have this year of most importance is the state has mandated that we have new election equipment. You've been through the process many times. County government right now is going through the process, and what are your thoughts and feelings about new election equipment and how the process works and what we're going through?
Well, let's look at the machines that we presently have. We have machines right now that you go in, you make your selection, whatever it is. When you're finished at the end, it refers you right back to the beginning and asks you, are you sure this is what you want to do? Now, you could make any change you want at that particular time and go back again and change again if you like to. But you can see what you have done in that particular machine. Do I find fault with those machines? Absolutely not. I think they were well worthwhile, and I think they're a good machine, and there's no way that you can tamper with those machines. It's not possible. We've seen that. We've done some very good work as far as those particular machines are concerned. Now we're getting a mandate from the state, which, by the way, you and I both don't like mandates. We never have, because the state doesn't give you the money when they tell you this is what you have to do. And that's quite unfortunate also, because right now you're talking about approximately $3 million. And let's look at it from that point of view. Now, let's say we put in the machines, and they go into effect, I believe, next year. And next year, you're going to have a presidential election. Now, I don't know how anyone else feels, but at the present time, the machines we have, you can get through this process quite quickly. But if you have the machine where you're going to have a ballot, and you're going to be able to mark off that particular ballot, then you take it to the machine and feed it into the machine so that the machine tells what you've already picked as far as what your election is concerned. So once that's done, then it's finished. That piece of equipment is stored within the machine, and it's over with as far as you're concerned. What is that going to do during the presidential election? Usually during the presidential election, we have large turnouts. And I'm certain you're going to have much more larger turnout this year, or this coming year, than we had in the past presidential election. So I'm saying that we're going to be faced with quite a problem this next election. And that's my opinion, that's what I think. But I also feel that the cost of these machines, which is going to range about $3 million, should have been partially paid for by the state. Again, we as members of county council and as a county itself, we're an arm of the state, and we have to provide whatever they mandate. I'm just a little perturbed about the fact that when they mandate something, they don't pay for it. So that's where I'm at as far as the election process is concerned.
Many other issues are being talked about at County Council these days. One of the other real important issues that has been worked upon and you've been involved in for many years is the Pleasant Ridge Manor East facility and the property there. And give us a little overview of that issue.
Carl, that property right now, in order to maintain it, and we have to maintain it as long as the building is up, as long as we have the structure there. And in order to maintain it, it costs us approximately $45,000 to $55,000 a year, maybe as high as $60,000. Now, to me, it doesn't make sense to have an empty building and continue to utilize that empty building when we have nothing in it. So I did, and by the way, at the present time, I am chairman of council, and I appointed a committee, and you're on that particular committee, to review what could be done on that particular facility and that particular site. Now, we're not done yet. By the end of April, we should have some kind of a report in that dictates not just what we have to do with it, but dictates all the different issues that this committee will bring up. The fact that we could say, okay, we could rebuild it, repurpose the unit, we could demolish it, we could, there's various issues that are involved as far as that building is concerned. What can we do with it? I don't know. Like I said, I'm going to wait for the committee to come back and give us whatever they have as far as what they've found in that particular building. And I'll make my decision from that particular point of view, and we'll go from there.
Important to most citizens of Erie County, of course, are taxes, and that's how we run, for the most part, county government for those programs that are not pass-through programs. Last year on council, we did in fact have a tax increase. You were the only council member, I must say, that voted against that, and can you tell us why in fact you voted against a tax increase last year?
Yes, I can. First of all, I'd like to say that every council member has a different view and a different opinion as far as taxes are concerned, or why they should be raised or why they shouldn't be. I'm not faulting the council members that voted for it, but what I looked at is what we had in a fund balance. We had a very healthy and fine fund balance, and I felt that at the present time it really wasn't necessary to raise taxes to any end. I know some of the comments were made that maybe we might need them next year, and we want to keep ahead of what the times are. That's not my way of doing it, Carl, and like I said to you, I don't fault anybody that voted for it. I'm not doing that. But I'm saying these are my views, the way I felt it should have been done, and that's the way I voted. I voted for a no tax increase because I didn't think it was necessary for the community to have to burden another, even though it was 3/10 of a tax.
We were here today with Fiore Leone, County Council member from the 3rd County Council District, and it was an honor to be with you today, Fiore, and
Thank you, Carl.
working with you on County Council each and every day.
Thank you, Carl. It was a pleasure having you as my interviewer today. Thank you.